Welcome to Traveling Towards Wealth, the podcast where money meets adventure and freedom is always on the horizon. I'm Sarah Jones, financial coach, full-time traveler, houseplant lover, sourdough baker, and your guide to building a life that's as rich in experiences as it is in peace of mind. Each month, we dive into a new theme, whether it's real money stories, the ins and outs of full-time travel, building a business or multiples while on the road, or finding wellness and simplicity wherever you are. Here, you'll get practical tips, honest conversations, and a gentle push to spend, save, and live according to your values, not someone else's rules. If you're ready to design a life you truly love, one where you can travel more, stress less, build financial confidence, shop safer, and wake up every day feeling like you're exactly where you're meant to be, then you're in the right place. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's start traveling towards wealth, one story at a time. Hey, friend, welcome back. So, today let's talk about the ever popular and ever exciting topics of decluttering and organizing. Does that sound fun? I want to talk about this because when, if you want to travel more, if you are trying to build a business, if you're working on your money, some of the things that come up that are really holding people back are disorganization and clutter. There's mental clutter, there is physical clutter, right? And disorganization. I actually wrote a quote. What is it? Let me look this up really quick because it is important. So I'm opening up my notebook. Oh, yes. You can't outlearn disorganization, meaning you can't just take another class or another course if you're just disorganized. And in I say that meaning that if you're not willing to work on actually organization skills and ways to become more organized, taking more classes and courses and working with a coach to work on your money or to work on your branding or taking another class on marketing and sales, none of that matters unless you're willing to work on your organization skills. So the quote, you can't outlearn disorganization, it really hit me. And I thought, let's talk about it because James and I have been on the road about 4.5 years now. And we do have a couple of storage. We have a storage unit and a storage container, two different things. We live very minimally here in our RV. And we have a storage unit that is climate controlled for the really precious, priceless items that I don't want destroyed and that I physically cannot carry with me, but I am not willing to give up, right? I'm not willing to sell. There's nobody else that I'm going to give them to. Like they are things for right now that we are keeping. And so we have a climate controlled storage unit for those items. It is minimal in there, and there are some things in there. Actually, I say that it's minimal. There are some things in there that we absolutely need to get rid of. I'm just having a hard time figuring out how to get rid of them without just throwing everything in the garbage because that I don't really feel good about doing either. We've got some like DVDs, we have VHS tapes, like a lot of VHS movies. And there's a lot of Goodwill won't take those as donations. So I think I can probably go through them, take pictures. There's probably some that we could make some money off of, sell eBay or something like that. Look at some other vintage markets and things like that. So yes, that is on my list because that adds to the mental clutter. Knowing that those items are in that storage unit does not help me feel organized or feel like I'm living minimalist when I know that those items are there and I want to get rid of them. And I haven't taken the time, because that's really what it comes down to, is taking the time to do that, taking the time to get rid of them. And so that's mental clutter that is always running around in the head. And that's invisible stress. That is taking up headspace that I could be using in another area. And then we have a storage container. This is a Connex container. Forgive me, I don't remember how big it is. It is located on some property of some friends that we have. They have graciously allowed us to keep the container there. And I have two things to say about that. There are a lot of things in there now that originally we were just housing for a while. But I have decided and come to recognize that I'm not emotionally attached to 50%, probably 50% of the things in there. Again, that's mental clutter. James and I both have talked about how much headspace that storage container takes up, that it shouldn't be taking up that headspace for us. So if it's taking up that much headspace, then that is invisible, that's mental clutter, that's invisible stress. We need to do something about it. I would say at least 50% of the stuff in there, I am absolutely willing to get rid of. My challenge with that is that I don't know how. The property is out in the country, so like a yard sale, not feasible. It's not super accessible for a company to come out and pick up stuff like a charity or something. We do have a really small car, so we would have to rent like a small U-Haul truck to take the things that we don't want and get rid of them. There are some things that have value, that would have value to somebody. I just have to figure out how I'm getting rid of those things, honestly. Again, this really just goes back to that clutter and feeling disorganized in this area. And I know that I'm not alone here. I know, listen, you probably have a storage unit that you've got stuff in that you're like, yeah, I don't actually want this anymore. But you're still paying for it. You're still letting it sit there, right? That's mental clutter. And I want to put a challenge out to you. I'm putting a challenge out to me that we need to work to get rid of some of this mental clutter and get a little bit more organized in life. Now, when James and I were out at the storage container a couple of weeks ago, we did, he was not on board with this. I did not give him an option, though. He became on board reluctantly because I didn't give him another option, but we had clothes in there. I didn't remember that I even had clothes in there. I did. And I was like, what the F, Sarah? Why? Why are you keeping this shit around? If you literally have not worn it in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you absolutely do not need to keep it. And he had a lot of stuff in there. Now, he did keep a few items in there because he knows that honestly, it would cost a lot of money to replace them, and there will come a time where he will need them. So he kept a lot of his bigger FR items in there. But really, for the most part, the rest of the stuff, it was like shoes that we weren't wearing, clothes that don't fit, or so we brought them back. I washed everything. We had two large bags of donate right from the get-go. And then I had two large trash bags full of like take to consignment, take to Plato's Closet and such. And so we did that Thursday or Friday, I think, and walked away from Plato's Closet with 18 bucks, which wasn't bad. They didn't take a ton of items. And I was like, okay, where else can we go? And we looked at each other and we're like, you know what? Just take it to Goodwill and get rid of it. So we ended up taking it, and I'm looking at my receipt here from Goodwill. Like, we had a nice North Face like ski coat in there, had a lot of miscellaneous clothing. I brought back some cake pans, even a lot of the bigger cake pans that I had in storage that I don't foresee myself needing. I don't know who to give them to. I don't want to take the time to try and sell one for $1 here and $2 there. I'm like, let's just get rid of it. And some boots and shoes and things. And when you do that, do you not just feel so much weight lifted off your shoulders getting rid of that stuff? I don't know about you, but it was so nice. It was so nice to get rid of it. And I think we're going to try and make a couple more trips. Again, we can only haul just a little bit in the car. But the next time we're down there, we'll go through some more things and load some more things up and try and get rid of it. But one thing that I would encourage you, a lot of times people tell me that they're really intrigued with a full-time RV lifestyle because it's simpler, right? And they're like, I would like to live a minimalist lifestyle. And one thing that I've noticed with living this lifestyle for about 4.5 years now is that if you're not really aware of things, you start to have a lot of clutter that just comes in little bit by little bit. And so you have to be really intentional and be really aware of what minimalist lifestyle you're wanting, why it's important for you. The clothing was a big thing. James and I hit a lot of different locations, a lot of different weather situations, climates, right? And so we do have clothing for all 15 seasons, right? Whatever weather event can happen, we have clothing for that, but not a lot in each area. And that's really nice to just feel like you're getting rid of some of those things, right? It's really nice to have that minimalistic approach that when you go in and you buy a couple of new shirts, you are literally getting rid of then a couple of shirts, right? So whatever you bring in, something needs to go out in its place. Look at how many coffee cups you have in your cupboard. You probably have way more than what you need, than what you even want. And you're holding on to it because the kid gave it to you, really like it, right? The truth is, there's not a lot of sentimental value. And if it's just taking up space and clutter, if here's another thing too. If you're looking at what you have in your home right now, and you can honestly say that even if it brings you, if you enjoy it, but you couldn't name somebody that would actually want to take it after you pass, then please get rid of it now and don't make somebody else do it later on. That's a good indication that you are holding on to something that has just emotional, maybe, maybe a little bit of emotional value, but does it really? Ask yourself, does it really? And no emotional attachment to anybody else. Like it's not a family heirloom that's been passed down for years. I think it's just looking at this minimalistic lifestyle. And I actually did this in the kitchen now that I'm speaking this out loud. I went through a lot of stuff in the kitchen the other day. We have 3 coffee pots. My friend, 3 coffee pots. What does one person in an RV need 3 coffee pots for? One is out in storage. That one I'm not willing to get rid of just yet. We've got the one that we use here, and then we have the quote unquote backup. Here in today's day and age, you don't necessarily need a backup coffee pot. There is a coffee shop on every freaking corner. So if you really needed coffee, you can get coffee, right? There are some great, what do they call it? Instant coffees now, which we have. I recognize there was no reason to be carrying around this coffee pot. It has not been used in over a year. Over a year. We don't need to carry it with us anymore. I got rid of a couple of cutting boards, some kitchen tools and utensils and things that I'm just like, why are we carrying this? I don't use them. Maybe they were gifts, but the truth is, when you have received a gift, yes, that person was thinking of you, but it means more to them for you to get rid of it if it's causing you stress and anxiety, not to just keep it because it was gifted to you. So I just had to look at some of these things and listen, I'm not using these. They are taking up room. Every little bit weighs something. And so I have to be again conscious of our weight and like, we need to purge, get rid of it. The freeing feeling of it, immense. I had a client for a while that we really worked on going through her closets, and just that clutter in the closets after closet that was full of clothing that she used to wear that had tags on it, that for whatever reason she didn't get rid of. She was really holding on to a piece of her that no longer existed, or a part of her that no longer existed. She was holding on to a version of herself that needed to be let go of so she could open up space for the new version of her that was emerging. And it was deeply emotional going through a lot of the clothing in her closet. And I just think of That's a huge transformation that you can make with yourself to go through and get rid of things, even if you like them. Even if you like them doesn't mean that you have to hold on to it. If it's holding on to a part of you that needs to no longer exist now, it is time to get rid of it. You are holding on to a version of yourself that needs to die, so to speak, so you can have room for this birth of the new version, this growth, this opportunity for new things to come your way, right? And that I think is what is appealing to like the simplistic, minimalistic lifestyle of RV life, right? It's like getting rid of the things that don't really matter so you can make room for the things that do. So you can start this in your own home. Like go through and get rid of 50% of the stuff that you have. And people will tell me like, "Oh my God, Sarah, I can't do that." 50%? Yeah, 50% because I almost guarantee that there's 50% of the stuff that you have sitting around your house that you are not using, that you are holding on to for reasons that no longer need to go into your future. They're really no longer serving you. They are holding you in a space that is not allowing growth to happen. I've gone through that a lot with RV life. We have a lot more to purge. We have brought some stuff in, things that I liked, things that I spent money on that I was like, oh, I need to give it away because I spent a lot of money on that. Listen, that's a money wound that needs some work on. That's mindset that we need to address. It served its purpose. It's time to let it go. It's time to let it go. So I am working on this with myself too, right? So we've done the closets, the clothing. That's pretty good. There's not a whole lot more. We've done a pretty good job of getting rid of stuff there. There's probably a couple of items here and there that we could get rid of, but for the most part, that's done. The office here, I got this cleaned out the other day, threw a shit ton of stuff away in there. That felt really great. There's still a few things that I need to get rid of. I just don't know how to get rid of them, like old computers, old cell phones that we're still carrying around. I don't know how to safely dispose of them. We've got some other things that we could definitely go through. And then more living room stuff. Like I said, I did the kitchen. So most of the kitchen stuff has been gone through, but we still have living room stuff. And then we've got like the basement items. So that's what we're working on. I would encourage you to really look at, oh, and here's another thing before I close this out. There's a couple of minimalists that I follow, and one in particular, I think it's Josh Becker, that says something to the effect, I might be misquoting him a little bit, but I think the gist is the same, is that the more you get rid of, the less you have to organize, right? The more you get rid of, the less you have to organize. And that speaks to the simpler life, right? Like, how can you get rid of things so you don't have to try and organize them? What can you take off your calendar? What can you take off your plate? What items in your home can you get rid of so it makes the organization of what's left easier? And I really think that's a great place to end today. So I hope you will join me next week. And I will say right now, goodbye for now, my friend. Thanks for joining me on Traveling Towards Wealth. If today's episode sparked something in you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share this show with a fellow free spirit who's ready to design a life they love. Want to dive deeper? I'd love to connect with you. Book a free call with me to chat about your money, your dreams, and your next steps. No pressure, just a real conversation. You can find the link in the show notes or on my website. And let's stay connected on socials. Follow me on Instagram or Facebook for behind the scenes RV life, money tips, and a little gypsy spirit along the way. Remember, your money, your journey, your rules. I'll see you next Tuesday for another story and some practical steps to help you travel further towards wealth, freedom, and a life you love. Until then, keep wandering, keep growing, and keep spending on what matters most.